webinar. We're really excited about our presenter today and the material we're going to be going through. We think you'll find it to be really informative on so many different levels. Our topic today is creating marketing that drives results, driving graduate student search through innovative marketing automation programs. Now, we're on the air. You should be able to see my screen and hear us. If you're having any difficulty, you have a number there that you can call. And the number one question asked throughout the day is, are we recording this event? Absolutely. And will you get copies of the slides? You absolutely will. So we'll take care of you after the session. Typically within about 24 hours, we'll be able to get that out to you. Now, we want to encourage you to be interactive throughout today's session. You can ask as many questions as you'd like. And again, the easiest way to ask a question is in the question box, where you can type your chat information. And ask as many questions as you'd like. We'll answer all the questions that we have time for during our presentation. If we run out of time, we'll reply to you via email so that any question you ask, we'll get you that information. Now, our agenda for today's session is how Direct Development, our longtime customer, created a unique approach for the University of Alabama to match grad student prospects to their ideal program needs. And you'll see how they met the university's challenge of finding a better approach for connecting with their target audience, delivered a cross-channel marketing program including personalized direct mail, email, mobile, microsite of various choices for each student. And based on their interest areas, they created an on-demand printed variable view book fully personalized to each applicant's specific interest areas. You're going to find this unbelievable. And then we'll showcase the multi-version approach with the many, many options that each student experiences. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have plenty of time for questions. Now, first of all, our presenter is Tony Fraga, Director of Client Services at Direct Development. Hey, Tony, how you doing today?
Doing great, Joe. How are you?
Doing awesome, and thanks for taking time out of your busy day to help us with today's educational webinar. So we'll be back with Tony here shortly. And again, I'm Joe Manis. Most of you know me, Executive Vice President at MindFire. And again, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us today. Now, before we jump into Tony's awesome presentation, I want to take just 1 second for a coaching tip for both our customers and our prospects, but most importantly our customers, because we talk about this often during our educational sessions. And I had a situation occur this week with one of our largest customers and their largest vertical market customers. And I want to share it with you because it really points to the importance of being aware of your customers' needs. And so here's the coaching tip. As I said, I was working with one of our very large customers on a new innovative program that we were going to showcase for their large, very large healthcare customers. And one of their top customers that they work with informed them that they were going to create a new card program for members in-house. Now, that came as a major surprise to our customer. The program they were going to create was very similar to the program that I've been working with our customer to propose. It just wasn't as complete. And I've been pushing our customer for 6 months to bring the proposed program to all of their customers in that vertical market, healthcare, to test the waters because it's a perfect fit for a critical need for healthcare providers. But the customer is just too busy to make it happen. 6 months, mind you. Now, what can we learn from this coaching tip? All of your customers, I repeat, all of your customers and prospects are looking for innovative approaches to achieve their business objectives. Be the first one in the door with these new approaches for business improvement, and you'll be rewarded many, many times over. If you don't bring these new innovative ideas to your customers, guess what? A competitor will, or worse yet, they'll create the program themselves. But I can guarantee you at a much greater cost and with less capability than they would enjoy using our technology and our partners' capabilities. So please, for our customers, make sure you start scheduling those meetings to help your customers meet their most important objectives before they take the alternative approach. All right. Now, today's topic, driving graduate search through innovative marketing automation programs. And I'm excited to bring Tony back. And so Tony Fraga is the Director of Client Services for Direct Development, our longtime, almost 8 years, I believe, customer, and he's located in Fairfax, Virginia. All right, Tony, welcome back, and take it away. And when you're ready for me to move next slide, just fire away.
Will do. Thanks so much, Joe. And yeah, just a little bit about direct development. We're actually a smaller agency. We're a family business. My dad actually started this company back in 1984. And we started out as more of a direct mail production agency, and we originally had been working with nonprofit organizations. But we eventually, over time, saw needs in other markets, especially higher education, which has become a huge vertical for us. And today we've expanded to include a wider range of marketing services. I came on board with the company about 10 years ago, and in that time realized we needed to get to multiple media channels as far as our service offerings, and quickly found MindFire, and the rest is history. So today, because of that, we hugely emphasize highly variable content. That's what our clients really know us for, because we now have lots of data behind it, behind our strategies, and we know that multi-channel, multi-touch campaigns that are more relevant and personalized simply perform better than traditional marketing tactics. So that's a bit about direct development. Joe, we can keep moving on to the next slide. This client of ours, University of Alabama, we met at a trade show a little while ago, and it took us a little while to actually gain to get them to be fully on board with this new program we wanted to do for them. And we had a live demo meeting, then we did program samples of how this solution worked. We did another live demo. It took 2 to 3 months. And they were sold on us, but it was really about getting the principals all on board who needed to. And I can explain that more on the next slide. The main thing we wanted to get them on board with was a variable viewbooks solution. At Direct Development, we call it variable viewbooks. There's a lot of different terms for viewbooks. Traditional viewbooks are big, bulk, static printed viewbooks. Today, there's lots of choices for online digital viewbooks out there. Our variable viewbooks solution that we've created at Direct Development, powered by our MindFire software, is a comprehensive solution that covers both print and digital formats. It's fully integrated. It's really customized. We did this initial program for another university 3 years ago, cut our teeth on it. We've refined the solution. Our main goal was to try and pitch it better and perfect the delivery to clients. The University of Alabama was our first. The other one was very successful too, but this one was even better than that. And it's because we learned a lot along the way. University of Alabama, you have to kind of understand, they're a large state university. Our hired clients are like them, and they're really, really small private institutions as well. So we run the gamut, but for them, and we find this with a lot of graduate departments, they have a variety of different grad schools. They're totally decentralized. So we had the central grad office working with us, who has 120 total different grad programs across 8 different grad schools. And their big problem is that they didn't have one comprehensive tool that could help with engaging prospective student and nurturing that relationship. And they said, they needed a better approach on how to connect with their target audiences for the different schools. And they needed something that would be easy for the different school admissions departments to get on board with as well. So hence variable viewbooks. Next slide, Joe. So the basic elements of our viewbook program, and I'll explain it really quickly here. Most of it I'm going to show you all because you have to kind of see it to understand it. But the basic element is that we wanted to use a multi-channel, multi-touch approach, driving the target audience, these prospective students, to a variable site. It was already pre-populated with some stuff of their info, to get them to tell us a little bit more about what they're interested in regarding graduate study and what their specific choices were. Once we knew that, we wanted to deliver a tailor-designed viewbook, both digital and print versions. There is 8 primary versions of the print piece because of the 8 graduate schools, and there are a zillion subversions because the printed and the digital piece are highly tailored based on how they answer the graduate student survey. And so we delivered on demand a print one, variable data printed, and we do an online one as well. That's instant once they fill out that survey, and they're fully integrated together. So that's what our variable view solution is. It's one view book, 3 formats, fully variable. So essentially, this program is really about nurturing. And it starts around the personalized virtual view book they get immediately once they respond. But it's really about the follow-up marketing. And without the follow-up activities, the results just don't happen as high. And the reason this solution works so well for our clients is because of all the follow-up activities, both triggered and automatic, that can be set up and continue to nurture the relationship with prospective students all the way to getting them to apply and then enroll. So let me show you what this looks like. It's built around 3 simple steps. The first basic step of this whole variable viewbook strategy is to drive prospects to a survey site, where we call it the initial landing site, but it's essentially a site where they go and they tell the school a little bit more about what it is they're interested in regarding graduate study, graduate opportunities like assistantships, research, whether they're interested in needing financial aid and scholarships or not, and just a little bit more about who they are. And with that information, then we can generate the digital and print piece. In order to drive prospects there, we needed to start with a launch marketing campaign. We started with a mailer. We use a little trifold self-mailer. It's variable digital printed, and we printed this. You can see a little variable there, and we totally personalized to each person. And this is the front half you would see folded up for an 8.5 by 14 trifold. And Joe, you can go to the next slide. You'll see we personalized it for John. And if you flip this over on the next slide, you'll see what it looks like on the back. You'll see a mailing panel. You'll see the pearl shown very prominently here. And obviously, we want this piece to get opened. It's a trifold piece, and there's more info on the inside. But this is it. We started with a mailer, and we sent this mailer out to prospects. These are not applicants. These are just a variety of different prospects from different lists, prospective graduate students. Yeah.
And as we discussed in our pre-meeting, and for all of our customers and prospects, as well as some of the universities that are attending on a direct basis for this educational session today, Tony and his team have done an exceptional job of designing very clean direct mail pieces that really impact the recipient. I'm asked very often when working with our customers to review some of their programs they're going to market with, what would you do to improve the direct mail piece or the email? Well, this is really a best practice that you're looking at. You see the clean message, a lot of white space on the front, grabs their attention, speaks to the individual on a very personal level, got their attention. On the back, the call to action, very clear. And again, these are the best practices to optimize that first touch. So I just wanted to interject that because I'm asked, almost daily for customers' input, my input on some of their programs. And so for those of you customers of ours that are attending today, this is really a best practice for design, and it's the reason that Tony and his team deliver the exceptional results they do for customers. All right, back to you, Tony.
Good. And then, and it's also, we always put the pearl on the outside because if they don't open it, you want them to be able to see the CTA. But this is the inside of the mailer, and on the left you can see a kind of rendition of how the other flap folded. And then as they unfold it, you see it on the right fully unfolded. It's kind of hard to see this on a slide, but the idea is that this is a digital variable piece. So we had different versions even of this mailer, and the purpose of this mailer is simply to go get your Bama grad school viewbook. That's what we called it with this client. That's what they call it to their prospects. And we had different content based on different audiences and segments we were marketing to. But this started it. And if you go to the next slide, Joe, you'll see another one. I think we have another one here. This is a nursing one we had for the ones who we already knew were nurses or worked in the nursing field. But again, we're showing little pictures you see up top there of the actual viewbook piece. We were kind of saying what you'll get. And then let's say they didn't respond to this mailer, and which had the instructions and the call to action at the bottom. We still followed this up with 2 emails that triggered about 5 days after the mailers landed, and then another one weeks later, driving folks. And so if you go to the next slide, I think we have that, Joe. the email that actually, oh, I don't know if we put it in, but that's all right. We can show it on, maybe it's on another slide, or if we didn't. But there was an email that matched this, and it said a similar message. So in case they missed the mailer, they didn't act on the mailer. When they got the email, it said the same thing. We even personalized the subject line. So we said, John, don't forget get your Bama Grad School viewbook in the subject line. It worked really well. So once they respond, what they do is they go here, and this is what it looks like online. And this is where we say, again, we're echoing the message, John, get your Bama Grad School viewbook today. And we pre-filled out for the people we had email addresses for. They click Customize My Online Viewbook, and they go to the next page. This is a very simple 3-page survey site. And we want them to know that there's nothing else to do but respond to this viewbook. They fill out this survey, which is dynamic, and I can't fit it all on one screen. But in the top, they select a program they're interested in. Then in that program, if there's sub-program info, it's got some conditional logic. They let us know, question 3, what opportunities interest them the most. This information is critical. Then they continue to the last page, which is simply showing them their profile information. On the next slide, they just update their, and we pre-fill this, and this is it. At this point, they're done with the survey. As soon as they click Go to My Bama Viewbook, they're done with step 1. And instantly, we're in step 2, which is we want to deliver them the immediate personalized online virtual viewbook. So we call it their virtual viewbook at this point. But even if they don't, we follow up and we say, hey, Sally, thanks for your interest. Don't forget, you can explore your viewbook. Go to this link. And this is a personalized email to Sally from Patrick Fuller, who's the senior admissions counselor who is assigned to her based on where she lives in her territory. So there's a variety of different graduate admissions counselors, and they got assigned dynamically. So this is a totally textbook, MindFire, automatic trigger email that is variable in nature based on how they answered the survey. So this also drove them to the site. And so the next slide, you're going to see the site. So this is the actual online viewbook. This is their virtual component. And so it's got 6 tabs. And the first thing they're met with is a personalized welcome from Patrick Fuller, their counselor. And it basically shows them how to use this. This isn't to replace the University of Alabama's website. It's just meant to help graduate prospects, people thinking about grad school, get quicker to the information that they care about. Graduate programs, app checklists, financial aid, about Tuscaloosa, contact information. A lot of these tabs have lots of variable content on them. So I'll just show a couple screenshots of them. This next tab is about graduate programs based on how John answered that survey. If he was interested in the business school and the economics program, this page has that info. If he had picked a different school and a different program, this would be different. And they can change it even within the site. Let's say he says, well, I want to know about economics, but I'm also thinking about the MBA. He just clicks at the bottom and it can dynamically change this. To find this information drilling through University of Alabama's website pages takes a lot of clicks. So we got this information quicker to them. Next slide. There is relevant information about graduate opportunities and financial aid because that's what he had picked on his survey. Next slide. Even those buttons on the right, by the way, are also variable. And then this has variable contact information for the department and the program director and application contacts. There are, dozens of different combinations of this. Just to get to this information, which is crucial for the admissions process because a lot of people have questions, was really hard to do on their existing website. So this was a very helpful tool for the client. It doesn't look like much to you all, but for the client, this was a big value add. But that's the viewbook, the digital piece. And step 3 is the printed viewbook, the variable print viewbook, which came about 5 to 8 days later in the mail, first class. This echoed a lot of the information from the online viewbook, but in a nice print format, totally tailored to each prospective student. So this, we had different versions of it. You can go to the next slide. These are different front covers. So you can see Morgan, Caitlin, Wanda, they each got different covers with their pearl right on top. We put the pearl on the cover of the variable print viewbook to remind them, don't forget, you can go and get your digital version. You can access it on your mobile phone, your tablet, your laptop. It's always there. We always want print to keep redirecting people back to a digital experience. It's circular. We don't want people to ever end. We want them to keep going. Everything always goes somewhere else. But this piece, there's a lot of digital viewbooks out there. A lot of these onlines, you can get like PDF page turners and you can get online view books, but a lot of them don't have a variable print component to it. And we've learned, and we have the data that shows that adding this variable print piece that echoes the same message, is fully integrated, really drives up response rates. When you just do one or the other, it doesn't have as good of an effect. So we mailed this piece out on demand. We print them on an iGen 4, and you can see the back cover on the left half there with the QR code and the mailing panel. This goes in a clear Mylar envelope. We throw a first-class stamp on there, and it comes to their house very soon. When they see this later, we see another, again, more interaction on both on the digital site and on the client's website. So this nurturing relationship, constantly giving them relevant content, has a very good result for their engagement. Next slide.
Tony, if I could just interject one point for our guests. These direct development has done just an absolutely fabulous job with this program, as you can see. But they're not our only customer that leverages that print component that Tony just articulated the value of that very nicely. That leverages that follow-on print component based on the information collected at the personalized microsite, following on with a personalized print component, whether it's a 2-page document or an 8-page document. And again, our other customers that are leveraging it across other vertical markets are seeing the same outstanding results. So it isn't only the higher ed vertical where this strategy and tactic are being deployed. We have other customers doing it across other verticals with the same outstanding results. Thanks.
Yeah. And so the point of all the stuff is the tracking. And so this is a picture of our dashboard called Direct Connect, which is powered by all the data we have off the MindFire platform. This is tailored for each client and gives them a quick way to track all the metrics that matter. So this tracks that initial mailer, it tracks all the follow-up emails, it tracks the people who go to the initial site and fill out the survey, it tracks the folks who get to their personalized virtual view book, it tracks the folks who get a delivered printed one, and it's got all the metrics in here. And why this is the reason to do this campaign. It's nice to come up with this nice graphical and personalized stuff, but where it really hits the road is the results. And that's why we do all of this, to get more engagement for our clients so that their relationships with prospects turn into more applications and more enrolled students. So just one thing that we have is, there's some variety of reports here, but some powerful statistics that are interesting is that over a third of the respondents responded on a mobile device, that red half there, that red third of the pie graph. So that was a big value, a proof point to our clients that you needed this site to be responsive, and a lot of folks were responding to either the email or through the QR code on their mobile device. It was really good to be able to show that to the client. On the next slide, if you jump, yeah, we'll have campaign notes as well.
Yeah, just one quick point for all of our customers out there using the studio. This is a really well-designed, well-laid-out dashboard. I can see why the University of Alabama and all of Direct Development's customers love it, so my hat goes off to Tony and his team. But for our MindFire customers out there, the studio platform can present these types of dashboards that you create in a couple different ways. So if you're interested in trying to replicate, or I shouldn't say trying, if you're interested in replicating a similar dashboard for your company for specific customers, reach out to us and let us know, because speaking to Dave Rosendahl, as you all know, our co-founder, and he and I were talking about a couple different ways you can do this. So I just want to get that point for our customers. All right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice job on this, Tony. Really nice.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is you'll see on this next slide, this is more than I can explain right now, but the point is we're tracking all the different segments. So our clients have a lot of different groups and prospects from different sources, and they wanted to know which ones were worth it, which ones worth it. And when we first sat down with them, we asked them all these questions, and like most of our clients, they didn't know. They don't really know. They just kind of try stuff and see if they get enough results, but they can't track it all down to each list source. And we were able to give them that information. On the right, in the campaign notes, what you're seeing there is the different touches. Trifold mailing, email 1, 2, 3, January launch trifolds, another set, email 1, 2, 3. Those touch points correspond, you'll see this on the next slide, to spikes in activity and engagement. So you'll see different spikes over the 6-month period of time that they've had this live. This is still going on today. But on the next slide, Joe, you'll see, and folks, you'll see kind of these spikes. And this is kind of zoomed out, but over 6 months, you'll see those same touch points correspond to different spikes in activity. And that was also really helpful data to track and to kind of know which touches were worth it, which ones weren't, which audiences responded more. This is aggregate across all lists, so you can drill down more. But that was the point of this whole campaign, is to track all this information and to help their counselors know which specific prospects and groups of prospects were the most interested and needed immediate engagement, the next most, so that they could focus on VIP prospects first over secondary and tertiary, but then continue to nurture the relationship. So that's it, Tony, in a nutshell. Yeah.
Tony, I'd just like to add on to this excellent slide data point. 2 important takeaways for our guests. Number one, in today's world, one touch for marketing programs isn't sufficient to get a higher ed or any vertical to the result that they need. You have to have multi-touch. That's why, as Tony stated early on, this is essentially an ongoing nurturing program that continues to engage in a highly personal manner each of the prospective grad students. So what we see is an ongoing nurturing methodology. Tony and his team set it up once, and the technology is continuing to deliver. The other point that's important is very often when, whether it's a corporation or a university is in a meeting and they're talking about results, and Tony and his team may or may not be there, but having a dashboard that shows those ongoing nurturing touches, and they may be talking about, we had a big influx of grad signups, around December, mid-December. Well, yeah, that was driven by the second email that went out, and you can see the spike right here, and that resulted in 25 grad students signing up. It's wonderful to have technology, that tracking and measurement that's reinforcing why you made the investment, and more important than that there is a cause effect. And I think at the end of the day, as Tony stated, most marketers, regardless of vertical market, don't track. In fact, there was a DMA study a number of years ago I used in my presentation, said 54% of marketers don't track and measure their actual results. Well, you can see how easy Tony has made it and how well laid out the dashboard is that arms the marketers to really get inside their data, and it has meaning. He's made it very easy for them to do that. And again, the technology is the underlying platform that makes this all possible. Awesome job. I mean, just so many levels. Okay, so that's the program, and we're going to give you all a chance. I see a bunch of questions coming in, but before we segue to your specific questions, which we will have plenty of time to address, let's ask a couple of those questions that universally get asked at these types of educational webinars. So, Tony, I mean, based on the recent success with the University of Alabama, which the program speaks to, what do you have planned for this year's activities with the University of Alabama? Obviously, they're excited about the results they achieved, and they're going to want to do some new stuff. So what's on the agenda for this year?
Yeah, the obvious stuff is repeating the winners. We'll do more outbound marketing campaigns driving prospects to getting virtual viewbooks. The work was done last year, and the client's happy, so we'll keep cycling that through this year. They're very happy with that. But the new things we're going to do is they go to recruitment events at different locations, like at different schools or different states. And what they really don't know is which ones of those are really producing enough fruit. So they want to make a generic version of this viewbook site available and give that a trackable URL, a little site that can track all the students from Tennessee at this Tennessee grad fair, how many of them went through afterwards and got their own virtual viewbook and got their own variable viewbook and the Bama Grad School viewbook, and tracking that by each of their recruiting events throughout the year that their different admissions folks go on. And then coming back and saying, this place was worth it, this one wasn't. Look how much activity we got on this one, look how much we didn't. So we're going to do trackable links, so in the dashboard they're going to know exactly how many folks came from those specific events.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So now they're drinking the Kool-Aid. They've seen the power of leveraging technology, so now they want to take it to their other marketing events so they can start to continue to evaluate. That's fantastic. Okay, next question. So when we think in terms of program evolution, how have the higher ed programs that you all have been involved in over the years changed? What are you seeing? What are some of the trends you can share with our attendees?
I would say specifically in higher ed enrollment marketing, and it's a little different for alumni development, but it has some similarities, is that definitely there is much more growth towards being integrated across multiple channels. There are still schools out there where just things have just kind of been going the way they've been going. And finally, if someone asks the question and says, hey, why are we doing it this way? And it's just because that's what they always did. And a lot of it has to do with schools getting out of one-off marketing campaigns, an email blast here, a mailing here. And some of them aren't even doing direct marketing because they think, oh, we tried that 5 years ago and it doesn't work. But what we're seeing is that integrated multi-channel, when done right, a lot more schools are coming back to that, because right now there's a shortage of graduate students across the country. 2010 was a great time. Now we're in 2015, and a lot of grad schools are hurting. So we're seeing a lot of them go back towards, how do we generate new names? How do we build up our inquiry pools again? So yeah, that's what I'm noticing.
Makes perfect sense. Yep. All right, old school marketing. Some would say that higher ed institutions are old school marketers and slow to move to new ideas. Do you agree or disagree with that?
That's a tough one. I wouldn't say it across the board. Some institutions can be slow to move. Others can be. I've seen some really awesome, innovative stuff because they get variable content, they get relevant data, and they get the value of educating prospects about what matters to them, and by using educational content to nurture the relationship, as opposed to come to our school because we're here. So I don't know if I'm answering the question other than I would say it's kind of 50-50. It really just depends on where the school's at.
Yep, good answer. All right, number one challenge. So when working with a variety of customers that you serve, what's the number one challenge to gaining access to the decision makers, and then to get them to market differently to their target audience?
Definitely the number one challenge is fighting the trend of, we're going to keep doing what we're doing because that was what we've been doing, or getting in front of the chief decision maker who is really saying, oh, we need to jump on social media because that's what we need to do. So and they spend gobs of money on things that they really haven't researched the data behind. And look, getting on social media is very important, but the key to success, I think, is data-driven solutions. And the way that we've been able to gain access is by using proof of data behind strategies that actually work, because we know they work. So for instance, with this University of Alabama campaign, they got a 12% response rate overall for visitors and 6% full completion rate through the microsite. That's really, really good. It's way better than what this client was getting, but that's way above average for just about any institution right now. Now, granted, it took a while and built this awesome product to do it. It's really engaging and highly variable, but those numbers help remind the provost and the directors and the enrollment directors that this stuff really works. This is money well spent because we're getting real results, and we can track that dollar all the way back to individual people.
Yeah, great answer. And then the innovation factor. You guys are clearly an innovative company. You've been offering marketing automation programs to your customers for 8 years. How has this helped your company, A, expand your customer offering, and B, grow your revenues?
Just by having a very GUI product. I know that's not the most technical term, but I think one of the things we've loved is that over the years we've been able to innovate and do really creative things with the platform, and that's enabled us to make mistakes. And yeah, we've made mistakes over the years, not disasters, but just where we've tried to do things, we had to figure it out, but by having a GUI platform that enables us to do a lot of things, we were able to finally find the strategies that worked well, and then we repeat the winners. And that's been really key to growing our revenue and growing our customer relationships, is by kind of, our customers now rely on us to kind of say, like at a lot of my meetings, it's, hey, what's going on now? They count on us to be the kind of marketing technology geeks that keep them abreast of what's really working, amidst all these marketing choices that are out there. So, yeah.
How about revenues? Have you been able to grow the revenues as a result of this approach long term?
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely been growth. There's been certain banner years over others, but it's definitely always been growth. And I think we're always chasing is trying to get that double-digit growth, that exponential growth. But we've definitely been able to grow over the last 8 years doing it.
All right, fantastic. So I've got two more questions I thought of while you were answering the first initial questions, and I see we've got a bunch of questions coming in from the audience. Everyone in the audience, we're going to turn it over to you guys here in a second, so get your questions into Mackenzie. So here's a question that kind of struck me as I was thinking about all the iterations and versions that were potentially available with this program. Has the studio, because it allows you to create any workflow you want, has that helped you from a setup and productivity standpoint in building these very dynamic, interactive programs?
Yes. I would say it this way. I would say there's no way we'd be able to do this as efficiently without the studio platform. And keep in mind, we actually built this before Studio was out first, rebuilt it in Studio, so we have the experience on both ends of your guys' software, and Studio is definitely more powerful, definitely gives us more freedom and flexibility. We're not big on doing cookie cutter solutions, so we don't template things and just kind of put the next client's logo on it and do the same thing. Yeah. However, we are benefiting from architecture, so it's not cookie cutter, but we do take from each one we build, improve, and we don't recreate the wheel every time. We piggyback off that efficiency that we learned. We use that as our backdrop, and then we totally customize it. So I think that's the thing that my team really enjoys more, is the flexibility in the studio to kind of go almost any direction we need to go. Sometimes we have to kind of think creatively, and we will call you guys and get help from your support department on how do we crack this nut, but I don't think we've ever not been able to do the thing we need to do. It's just a matter of how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and you're doing some complex stuff. I mean, you make it look easy.
Some of it gives me a headache when I look at the the studio, the map in Studio. So I try not to look at that screen too much, but my developers do.
Yeah, and I would tell the audience that Tony's slides today made it look very simple, but the devil's in the detail, and the planning that goes into laying this out before you actually start programming is very important. And so that's part of the education and support that we offer you. All right, so here's my last question, and I was thinking about this because the one thing I love about working with Tony, and have enjoyed working with Tony over the years, is he's passionate about providing innovative solutions to his customers, just like this slide says. Creativity is thinking up new things. Innovation is doing them. And Tony's been doing them for a long time. So Tony, as you can see, is a great speaker. He's passionate about meeting customer needs, figuring out ways to meet their needs. So Tony, as I think through the sales process, because some of our customers, they don't always immerse themselves in understanding all the power of the solution before they go see a customer. And so, they're kind of half-baking the sales process. So what would be your coaching tip to our attendees, our prospects, about selling this stuff? Because you make it look really easy.
Let's see. There's a lot I could say on that. Just really short. I've just learned 2 lessons about that. It's better to educate the customer thoroughly than try and sell to them. Education is sales. So I spend a lot of time researching so I understand how things work, what other competitors are doing, I actually grab a lot out of the B2B and B2C industry. I know people have been doing that for years. That's not a new idea, but we just got really good at taking strategies and innovations that we knew were working in other industries, but were being brought to other verticals like higher ed or nonprofits. A lot of those are 2 to 3 or 5 or 6 years behind the times because there's just frankly not as much money driving it. They're not as profitable. But we knew there were some principles there that worked, but they weren't being translated well at all to those industries. So we got really serious about figuring out why that is, and then we went and taught that to those industries. And then by teaching, that became its own sales process. But it takes R&D. It takes the time of really learning like what works and why it works, and then we go to the customer. I don't know if that answers your question enough, but that's been our approach.
Yeah, and are you engaged in a lot of the face-to-face customer meetings and part of education?
I am.
And
I am on a lot of them, but not all of them. I'm trying to try to create more layers here.
Beautiful. Good job. Well, I can't thank you enough for your information. We still have a bunch of people here. Now for our audience, it's your turn to ask the questions. I see some of the questions have been teed up, so I'm just going to go through them. Tony, and if they're for you, go for it, answer as much as you like. And then if the first one happens to be a question referencing something I said, which is, James, thanks for joining us. Said, can you send us a deck on the healthcare program? Sounds very interesting. It is, and since I co-developed this with one of our partners, it's kind of proprietary, but I'd be happy to talk about the healthcare industry and what I'm seeing and give you some ideas on how you can open up some new doors of opportunity. You'll see Tony and my contact information here in a second, so shoot me an email or call my mobile phone, and we can set up a meeting to talk about healthcare, because I've spent a lot of time on that side of the business over the last 3-4 years, and there's some clear success, much like what Tony's achieving. All right, next question. Let's see here. Doug, how you doing today? Thanks for joining us. Well, hopefully we answered the question on what a view book is. Doug, if you want to type that back in, you probably asked that before we got to the slides where we're actually showcasing the view book. But if you want, we can talk about that in more detail. Yeah, there it is. Here we go.
Yeah, I can just answer it really quick. That a view book is the traditional term that traditional item that universities send out. It's a booklet, simply that is traditionally all things to all people, and it's just like it's a glorified pamphlet in booklet format that gives you a view of the university, what it would like to be there, what it'd be like to study there. It's normally filled with pictures and information. They're normally anywhere from 30 to 100 plus pages. The traditional view books of old school years were trying to be everything about the school, and so they're expensive, and when one university has one, the other ones say they have one. So then what happened is view books became just a standard item that every school had. And then over the years, schools went away from them, and we've kind of done a, especially on the grad side, undergrad is more common, but of making a smaller, simpler, more relevant view book that costs way less, is filled with specific content, and that's what a variable view book or a personalized view book is.
And that's the key. That's the differentiator. Instead of giving them a lot of information they're not interested in, you're giving them specifically the interest areas they have.
Right.
All right, question from Ed. Hey, Ed, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. What are the dimensions of the view book mailer?
This specific view book was a 7.5 by 10. We've done them in all shapes and sizes. We got 5.5 by 8.5. We've got tall ones. We got 8.5 by 11. So you can do jumbo. Typically, this one was 7.5 by 10 because University of Alba's old view book, their traditional one, which was, I think, 40, 50 plus pages, was naturally sized 7.5 by 10. We took the native files of that, cut it up, and changed some stuff and made it. This is a 16-page view book. So this is a 16 simple page view book, same size, smaller, and totally printed digitally.
Yep, I've seen 8 pages for a smaller version of that with some other institutions, very common. All right, another question from Stuart. Hey, Stuart, thanks for joining us today. How did you make the variable online view book?
So you can go to that slide. We made the variable online view book as a microsite with multiple tabs in the Studio platform. So these are the 6 tabs up there. And in the screenshots I took, you can't tell what tab you're on, but the person knows what tab they're on. And those tabs are different pages. within the studio, and they're filled with all this variable content. So there's technically, like graduate programs, there's a lot of different versions of that page. It's all powered by variable content in the back end. But I don't know if that's answering it. I could go into a lot of details, but bottom line, we built it in Studio as a microsite with just a lot of tabs and a lot of features to it.
Okay. Ed asks, how many contacts were sent to Pearl? How many pieces were mailed?
Okay, go to the slide, Joe, that has the Direct Connect dashboard. Go up. One more up. No, down, sorry. Go to the second one. The next should be the next slide.
There we go.
So you'll see we did different outbound on the first, at the very bottom of the screen. I don't know if you can see this. See, it's 2000. No, go back.
Sorry.
2014 fall launch marketing. We sent out 22,902. And 2,774 of those folks visited the site, and 1,370 went all the way through and got a variable view book, both print and digital. That's the 12% response rate and 6% from that first big launch marketing campaign in the fall.
Excellent.
So those are the 22,000 where the mailers sent out. We printed out 1,370 variable print view books to those folks. And then we went ahead and did it all over again in January. You see in the middle there it says 2015 January launch. So the 2014 fall launch was in-house prospects. Every one of those lists down below, those 22,000, were all existing prospects, not applicants, but came from some sort of list they had internally. And in January, they did their first foray into using an outside list source, as well as buying some more GRE records. And so that campaign has slightly lower results, but that's expected from an outside cold prospect list. And those results of that advisor's list are triple to quadruple what that list normally gets for most schools without as comprehensive as a program as this. So, but yeah, that's what we did there.
And again, without the dashboard, you cannot compare and contrast those variances. And that, again, is when a customer makes a long-term commitment to, like Tony and his team, they're making a commitment because on every level, Tony and his team are bringing value and providing that critical insight to the customer, which is absolutely huge. Stuart asked the question, can this be done in Look Who's Clicking?
Yes, it can.
There you go, Stuart. All right, let's get this next one here. Hey, Dave, how you doing? So you may not feel comfortable giving all the information on this, and that's okay. But Dave, if you want to talk about pricing these programs, you know, I work real closely with our customers. But the question, Tony, is how do you determine what to charge for this program? Is it set up as a menu of costs, depends on what services reports they want, or an all-in-one cost to your client? For the U of A campaign, what is their basic annual cost, I guess?
Okay, so that's a very good question. Some components of this product, of this solution, are one-time. So the basic structure for the client is we're going to have to do a lot of work in the beginning to build you this really cool thing. We're going to need to build web stuff, and we're going to need to generate this really dynamic variable print view book with, it's got over 100-something layers in InDesign. And that, you know, drives the variable digital printer. But all that stuff is the big upfront costs. We work on that for, you know, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months at most-ish. We try and keep it to 6 months. And, you know, we build that out per the specs of the job. Those costs, of course, vary for every client based on how much content, but that's all upfront. And there's graphics, there's web development, there's copywriting. It all depends on what the client brings to the table. The second area is ongoing launch marketing. So in order to, once you build it, you got to drive folks to it, and those are always going to be per like how many people they mail to. Generally, our clients who have this up and running are doing at least 2 to 4 separate outbound marketing campaigns driving folks to this great tool they built. Those costs have postage and printing and hosting charges for hosting pearls. And we keep those pearls live for anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on the client situation. And then And then the other aspect that would be ongoing is the on-demand printing of the variable print view books. We just do those a la carte as they go. There's a we agree to a pricing structure per book. So those cost anywhere from $3 to $9 a pop. That's soup to nuts producing those books on demand, including postage, first class, and getting everything out the door. And that range is very wide because it depends on how many pages, how big it is, and the scope of work on that, what the volume they're going to get.
Dave, I've got a nice proposal layout that if you're interested, you can see my contact information there. We can get on a call and walk you through, similar to what Tony just described. The one thing, a coaching tip for prospects and customers alike, and this is part of our training when you join our team, is, I still get asked by lots of customers that are very successful, well, Joe, I want to show a price per piece. I want to show a line item for each of the things I'm charging for. Every time you do that, you're opening an opportunity for the customer to say, well, why are you charging me X for design and setup of the landing pages? Why are you charging me Y for this cost? Every one of those line items is an opportunity to have a discussion about revising it. Our most successful customers, by design, show all the moving parts of the program, and like Tony said, they'll have a one-time fee, let's just say, for sake of example, a $40,000 investment for this program, and there'll be a monthly investment of, let's say, $1,500 a month for the ongoing hosting of the program, the nurturing emails that are going out, the on-demand books, etc. So by having a one-time upfront, and you can show all the moving parts, all the services you're providing, and then the ongoing, it's a simple decision for the customer. There's only two numbers to talk about. And oh, by the way, all these moving parts that you'll see in my proposal template, all these moving parts, you can't piecemeal it. You have to have all those moving parts as one to generate the program success that Tony has shown you. That's why you have a single cost of investment. You agree with that, Tony?
We started doing exactly what you said before that your customers all the time say to you. When I first started doing these and pricing these out, I was line iteming everything, and that was like not working. And now we are more on this model. We have big upfront. It's basically a monthly fee. That's pretty much how you could rope it in. We get to send an invoice every month, and I love it. And so we break it. I much more do what you're saying, Joe. You are saying exactly true. It's the difference of being cost plus pricing versus value based pricing. And we're going more to what's the value of this product, what's the value of the solution. We'll lay out all the scope of work and what you're getting for that, and we'll define it. That's all cleared in the line items. We're not going to line item out each little item price. You want all this stuff, it's going to cost you this, and it's going to work really well. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%, Joe.
Awesome. Okay. Hey, Damien, thanks for the question. How are you producing the print-ready PDFs?
The print-ready PDFs. We're not producing print-ready PDFs.
Yeah, you're on demand.
Yeah, it's InDesign using variable data printing that pulls straight from the native InDesign file. And so let's see. Let me take a couple steps back. Eventually, once it's coming out, there's two ways to do this, I've learned. And I'm probably not answering this perfectly, but at the final end, you can do these one at a time, and in pre-press, it grabs the data from the list, the exported list. It grabs the data from the fields, and using InDesign, it populates the right layers, and then that is producing a print proof for that booklet, and the iGen's printing that print-ready PDF. But we, in the design phase, when you say print-ready PDF, like our designer is not producing a print-ready PDF. This is all done using variable data technology at the final step, which is in pre-press at the print process. So that's how we're doing it.
And the survey data is being collected so they can create those very personalized books. It's being collected, in the studio and then passed over to the printing processes. That's the magic, everyone.
Populating. That data is working with the native InDesign file to generate what the iGen needs to spit out a booklet on demand. And it's complex, absolutely, I'll tell you that. But it's possible.
If you have questions on that, let me know. There's my email, and we can walk you through the technical, because we have a lot of customers doing very complex heavy lifting. That's what the technology is designed to help you with. Tom asked, will there be a video? Yes, we're recording this session, Tom, so after today's session, you and everyone else will receive a link so you can download the video conference and share it with your team members once or 100 times, and I do believe it's worth sharing. Hey, Laura, thanks for joining us. When submitting a proposal, how do you address pricing the individual components, architecture, printing, e-blast, monthly fees? Laura, shoot me an email. I'll set up a short meeting. I'll show you the template, and I'm happy to send you the template if you're a customer, and it'll answer all your questions. It's really very straightforward, and I've been in hundreds of presentations with our customers, and it really presents well. All right, Sarah, thanks for joining us. What are the bottom line results in terms of UAs, enrollment, and net revenue from the program, Tony?
I wish I could share that information, but I can't. I think we're still, frankly, we're still calculating it. So we're still in the academic year. So all I can tell you is that their numbers are way up on inquiries and applications, but the story is still happening on enrollment. Like they're still accepting people right now to programs. So I won't know till I won't know till another couple months from now. But the initial results so far we're getting from our client and the feedback is they're overwhelmed. They're in a positive way. There are lots of great conversations. There's a lot more applications rolling in, but I know that that's not ROI and that's not enrollment increase numbers yet. And so I just know it's growing, but I don't know by how much. So I don't have ROI stats.
MindFire for all their marketing program dynamics. You can see why, and then they're using XMPy or printable variable printing software or SmartStream, HP, etc. Yep, we have a lot of interaction with different outbound devices. Okay, so last chance for any questions, and I've got Tony's information up there, my information. If you're an existing customer and you need help from our wonderful, awesome team, you know these folks, Carrie Driscoll, our Fast Launch Program Manager can help you contact. Of course, Mackenzie Farshid can help you if you want to set up a demo. Training, Adrian, and Professional Services, Dustin, all awesome team members doing an incredible job, so you get their contact. Stuart asked another question. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought he did. My bad, Stuart. Okay, well, again, I want to thank Tony for being, A, just an incredible partner with us, B, for taking the time to work with me to create the presentation for today and share his insight, his wisdom, his knowledge of the wonderful results I've been sharing. Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it a great deal.
Thank you, Joe.
And to the MindFire team that's been supporting us behind the scenes, thank you for your help. And Brett, thanks for the comment. Awesome webinar. Thank you for this insight. It's our pleasure. And for the last folks that are still out there, we've got a good number. If there is, I'm going to put my contact information up here again. If there is content or an area, vertical market, or some area you'd like us to focus on in our coming educational webinar, we hold one each month with our awesome guest speakers, our customers, please send me an email. Say, Joe, you know what? I would love to learn more about this area. Shoot me an email. We would be wonderfully pleased and to provide that information to you. All right, so that's it, folks. Thanks for joining us. There'll be another one next month. And if we can help, you've got the emails. We're there to help. And Tony, look forward to working with you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Great.
Have
Thanks,
a wonderful
guys.
afternoon. Bye-bye now.